All right, we're back with more talking about the Steelers NFL draft. 3 days now over, and we can analyze it. Chris, I want you to do that because this was a team that was in desperate need of some defensive help, especially in the middle of the football field. No Ryan Shazier, and yet they chose just 3 defensive players, 2 of whom are safeties. Your thoughts about what they did?
Apparently they don't think they need defensive help or they decided that the best defense is a really good offense and that they must have fallen in love with James Washington from watching him eviscerate Pitt twice on tape and once at Heinz Field. I like the Washington pick because they do need another weapon out there with Bryant being traded. But it's hard not to imagine them being able to get Edmonds a little bit later. I saw a couple sources. I think Jason Lockenforest said he was sneaking up was Edmonds to a first-round grade, that people coveted him. The only thing I can think of is that they hope that they can bulk him up a little bit or bulk up Allen or somebody and have them play sort of a hybrid role like other teams have with Deon Buchanan, guys like that. Something that Shazier sort of did here, although he was a traditional linebacker. Otherwise, I'm left scratching my head at them not either moving up for an inside backer or not just finding somebody out there that they thought fit the bill.
I mean, for me, look, I thought John Bostic might be pretty good. I mean, they signed him as
no, he's not. Come on.
He might be pretty good.
Might be?
There was no Ryan.
When has he been pretty good in his whole career?
But I think we have mixed messages from management here. Art Rooney said, hey, we need to be better against the run. And then they got a guy that might be effective in sub packages, moving into that sort of middle of the field guy that sort of like that Shazier basically was. I mean, he was a safety that happened to play linebacker. I mean, he's basically as big as – he's not that much bigger than Mike Mitchell, right? So it's just sort of a weird – I think he can be an effective player, but everybody in the world that writes about this team, including me, including Ed Bichette, including everybody, said they need middle linebacker. And I respect the Steelers for saying, hey, you know what? When we got to our pick – we didn't want to reach. We didn't want to go.
They reached for a guy that was projected as a third rounder. How is that not a reach?
We didn't have first round guys a grade for the linebackers left on the board, so they didn't pick one. I respect the logic, but it's still sort of curious.
I was trying to come up with one thing I liked about the 3 days, and I couldn't come up with one thing.
Not Mason Rudolph?
I know. I think that was the worst move of all.
Why?
And I don't like reaching for the safety in the first round. I didn't like trading Martavis Bryant. I think he's going to have a big year in his contract. You know, Washington coming in kind of nullifies that, I guess, a little bit. And the quarterback, to me, is the worst thing they could have done this year. If Ben's going to play 3 more years, you're going to have him sit around for 3 years? And why did you waste a 4th-round pick on Josh Dobbs last year?
That's a good question.
If you're going to do that. 4th-round picks can be pretty valuable. They're not going to keep 4 quarterbacks. They're not going to get rid of Landry Jones right now. Maybe Mayfield will be the backup next year. What if Ben plays 3 more years?
What if he doesn't? What if he doesn't,
that's
though?
part of it.
I mean, let's be honest. This is the guy who said, literally went from saying a year-by-year basis and said that all throughout the season, and then when he caught wind that maybe if I say I'm playing 3 more years, maybe I'll get a new offensive coordinator, he's playing 3 more years. I believe the front office is saying, I'm not so sure. And look, he's 30. He turned 36 last month. I think it's okay to plan for the future. I just think it is. Do I think Mason Rudolph is the future? Look, they said, yes, last night, we had first-round grade on Mason Rudolph. The other 5 guys taken in the first round are expected to be starters. I believe that they believe, even though they won't say it out loud,
they might be
that
the
he
only
will be
one
the
that
heir
had
apparent.
First-round
They've also
grade
had first-round
on,
grades and loved guys like Jarvis Jones. They're not exactly infallible or bulletproof when it comes to talent evaluation. Again, I feel like there's Oklahoma State derangement syndrome here a little bit because you watch them tear up Pitt's defense.
They tore up a lot of defense.
Yeah, but he didn't do what he did against Pitt against anybody else with that kind of ease. He looked like an all-pro for 10 years to come if you watch him only against Pitt. I thought that was an inexcusable pick. And their logic, the best logic I've heard somebody try to come up with is that if you have a backup quarterback and you nurture them along and they never take over, but other teams think they could be a starter, then you've got trade currency. Oh, great. 4 years from now, they'll be able to get a 3rd-round pick for the guy they just took in the 3rd round.
I just think their window is pretty small right now, and I'd rather have somebody to help Roethlisberger win now. Le'Veon Bell is going to be gone after this season. You're going to have to find a running back. Try to win right now. This offense is good enough the way it was with Bryant in there, not trading him, not drafting a quarterback. Help the defense, help the offense.
Maybe Mason Rudolph plays inside linebacker, too.
You didn't think that a third-round pick was good enough compensation for Bryant, or you wouldn't have traded him in the first place?
I just wouldn't have traded him. I think he's going to have a great year, and I realize he's one P test away from being out of the league. But I like to think he got his head on in the second half of last season after Tomlin suspended him for the Detroit game. I thought he played much better. And I think in his contract year, guys are motivated. He wants paid big money.
I'm with Ron on this. I've said it before in the show. He is a dynamic talent. He probably gives them their best chance to win this year.
Right? That's what you're worried about right now.
But you just said Ben's playing 3 more years.
Well, I think he may. I mean, he may play, he may not. If he gets hurt, he could be out after 1 year. But, I mean, Le'Veon's gone for sure.
Tell me what either of you saw from Martavis Bryant.
That's going to be gone.
Tell me what either of you saw really from Martavis Bryant in the back half of the season that brought to mind the explosive guy we saw when he first came into the league, because I didn't see it. And I'm a huge backer of his. I love the deep ball. I'm like a lot of people that love to just go over the top. I didn't see the same explosive, dynamic guy last year.
But I think if he's your third option, that's a pretty good third option, right?
Yeah, I still think he was going to have a great year. He may not. We'll see.
They get to play him in Oakland later this season. We'll see. But right now it's time for Smooth Moves, presented to you by Armina Stone. So let's go around the horn and look at Pittsburgh's largest supplier of the smoothest granite, marble, and quartz countertops. We ask each of these guys to come up with a smooth move of the week. So we'll start with you. Will, what's your smooth move?
Not going to take Ron's. Just do it good, Ron. I'll give this one to Pitt AD Heather Lyka. They announced this week they're going to change the court they're going to flip the court at the Peterson Event Center and put the zoo around the entire court. Having the zoo behind opposing teams' benches should make for some pretty good theater going forward.
I'll take the easy one. Ryan Shazier walking across that stage the other night when Goodell introduced him, I thought he was going to come out in the wheelchair, and to see him walk across that stage, I've said this many times, I have so much respect for that kid, at least publicly. He's never shown that he's feeling sorry for himself. He's a man of deep faith, and he's working hard to get better. And it was great to see him literally take big steps in that direction.
My smooth move goes to Tuukka Rask. Like, I guess if you're a Bruins fan, somehow the story is that he didn't get a stoppage in play when the blade got knocked off of his skate. The smooth move here is chucking a knife, basically, across the ice and then having everyone just say, oh, yeah, we understand. You must have been really angry. What is going on?
Didn't hit anybody. If he did, that could have cost him.
Oh, no, the NHL would have rewarded him if he had hit
player
somebody.
Safety, right. All right, those are the smooth moves brought to you by Armina Stone. You should check them out. It features Pittsburgh's indoor stone gallery of granite, marble countertops imported from all over the world to give you the smoothest countertops in the area. When we come back, Baker Mayfield, hit or miss? That's next.